Welcome to this week's episode of Beyond Focus TV. I'm your host, Lydia Patel, and as always, we have another very special guest lined up for us. We have the Honorable Chun Liu, who's going to be spending the next 30 minutes with me. So sit back, relax, because you are watching Beyond Focus TV. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm your host, Lydia Patel, and you are watching Beyond Focus TV. And as I promised you in the introduction, I have the Honorable Chun Liu with us, who is actually running for the hot seat for the mayor of New York City for 2014. We have so much stuff coming up, but Chun Liu, welcome to Beyond Focus TV.
Great to be with you, Lydia.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to first get to let everybody know about you, the person. You know, there's so much that goes on in a race, but we want everybody to get to connect with you. So tell us a little bit about your background and how this all got started for you.
Oh, you know, I'm very surprised at where I am right now. I have to tell you, right off the bat, I am far beyond anything I imagined would have ever happened in my lifetime. I am an immigrant. I came here when I was a kid and grew up in the New York City public schools, kindergarten through 12th grade. I went on to college, majored in mathematical physics. Had nothing to do with politics or government whatsoever. And in fact, the bulk of my adult career has been in the private sector. I was a management consultant at a company called PricewaterhouseCoopers. And at some point, after many years of doing that, I decided that I wanted to give something back to this great city that gave me and my family tremendous opportunities to pursue and in many ways achieve the American dream. And so I took a shot for city council.
Right.
And actually, when I announced that I was running for city council, a lot of people were asking me, why are you running? You can't win.
Such a typical question.
And I would ask, what do you mean, why can't I win? And people would remind me that, well, at that point, no Asian American had ever been elected to anything in New York City. And so I convinced some people that, look, we could win. We have a strong campaign, a right strategy, and we're on the right side of the issues. And sure enough, in 2001, I won that election and, believe it or not, became the first Asian American to be elected here in New York City.
And that's phenomenal, because when you look at that, especially coming from and having an immigrant background, my family is immigrants as well.
Right.
You know the challenges that it could be when you're trying
absolutely.
to come to New York and make that mark.
Right.
Well, and even going through public school, kids could be mean. There's so many different things that could come up. And why don't you tell us about your public school background?
Well, sure. I mean, public school, PS20, kindergarten at PS20 in Queens. And when I was growing up in elementary school, there were some rough points. There weren't too many Asian Americans around, and I got my share of taunts, and in some cases worse. I never forget when they would serve rice at hot lunch. All of my friends in the class would pass their rice to me because that's what I like to eat. But look, you live with those experiences, and they shape you, and they form you for the rest of your life. And so I had a good time in public school. I went to, after elementary school, I went on to junior high school. I took this exam at Hunter College High School, and I got in, and so I wound up going there, starting in 7th grade. But I was only there for 3 years, because even though it's supposed to go on until the end of 12th grade, I was there for 3 years. I took another test and wound up going to the Bronx High School of Science. And so I really enjoyed my high school years, for sure. It really allowed me to get a sense of who I am, my identity. Honestly, for a long time, especially in my elementary school experience, there were lots of times when I wish that I wasn't Asian. I actually wish that I was white.
Absolutely.
I think you probably identify with that a little bit.
We all have been there at some point.
Yeah.
And to be the token person.
That's right. That's right.
And that's another thing that happens very much in politics, or even going through your career. They need certain races. So,
Right.
sometimes you feel, oh, he's there because he's the token Asian person.
Right. And that's unfortunate. But what we do is we try to work hard so that we can get people past that point. And in fact, when I was elected to the city council, I'm proud that I brought a new voice to the community. And everywhere I went, when I was first elected to the city council, people would make a big deal about me being the first Asian. It was something new. And I always joke that, it was never anything new to me. I've been Asian my whole life.
Your whole life. Absolutely. So
Right.
let's talk a little bit about your life partner, your wife, and you have a
Right.
son. How has this experience been for your partner as well?
Well, my partner is someone I knew since college. And my wife, Jenny, we've been together for a very long time. We met when I was 19 and she was 18. I'm 46 now, so I've actually known Jenny for the vast majority of my
your life.
lifetime. She's been great. She is very understanding. I was kind of always involved in different things when we were in school, also campus activities. So I guess it's not a complete surprise to her that ultimately I wound up in the political world and just trying to run for office and getting involved in whole different things. Jenny is great. She has been a wonderful partner. She's my best friend, and she really she has her own career. She's an accomplished professional. She has an engineering background. She has her training in engineering, and she's now she's kind of moved into the management ranks in her company.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, she works very hard. And our son Joey, he's 12 years old now.
Joey's 12. Wow, that's the older
It
picture you
goes
have on the
very-
website.
Yes. Well, we have a few different pictures. Yeah, I think there's one picture where he's actually only 1 year, actually less than 1 year old, because it was right before I was elected to the city council. And when I was elected to the city council, he was exactly 1 year old. But Joey is he's an amazing kid. We were truly blessed. He is as low maintenance a kid as you can get. Always does well in school. He's also very athletic, and I'm very happy to just try to nurture him. I coach him in his baseball and his football, basketball. He's actually a kid that would prefer to play with a real ball than to play in front of a TV with the video games.
With the Wii.
With the Wii, exactly. Although, don't get me wrong. I mean, he loves the Wii. He loves all the video games. But given the opportunity, he'd actually be outside playing ball.
Now, do you find it a challenge to separate your home life from all the craziness, the hustle and the bustle right now that's going on with the election?
It is, as the election gets closer, you do wind up sacrificing more time. But I always make it a point to spend time with my family. I take my son to school every day. Now it's in the summertime, so there's no school. But nonetheless, we spend a lot of time together. Play ball every weekend, and it's just you can't lose these years, because you can never ever recover them. And as much as I'm working very hard to win this election, you don't forget what's at the end of the day most important, and nothing is more important than the family.
John, let's hold that thought. Beyond Focus TV, stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel, and as you can see, I've got the Honorable Chun Liu with us. He's giving us an exclusive one-on-one here tonight for Beyond Focus TV. I want to jump right back into it now that we got to know the person, John, not just the politician, but you, the person. I think it's so important.
And I prefer not to be called a politician. In fact, for most of my life, I had nothing to do with politics, as I mentioned before. I entered public service because I thought it was a great thing, and I wanted to make some changes.
And that's exactly what I'm going to get to right now. What are you bringing to the table in this mayoral race?
Well, I think I bring a lot. First and foremost, I've been city controller now for 4 years, and as controller, I'm very proud of the work that I've done, saved billions of dollars, especially through our audits. We have recovered money. our contract scrutiny, where we've scrutinized some of these wasteful projects, stop additional money from going into these money pit projects. Couple of examples: City Time, which was a huge fiasco for the city and cost taxpayers huge amounts of money. We were actually able to help recover most of that money. Another system called the 911 emergency call system, huge amounts of wasted money. I'm very proud that because of our auditing and our strict contract scrutiny, we've been able to save, I think, almost $4 billion since I took office as city controller. Also helped create jobs, especially as we accelerated some of our capital construction plans to take advantage of low interest rates today, but more importantly, get the schools built, the roads and bridges fixed, the parks improved, and put people to work at the same time. So it was really a plan that was a winning trifecta for the people of New York City. And of course, one of my responsibilities is investing in our pension assets.
Yes.
I'm very proud of the fact that over the last 4 fiscal years, we've achieved an investment return of over 50% cumulatively, over 50%. And that's an investment record I'm very proud of. So for those of your viewers who might be getting a pension check from the city, their money is in good hands.
You heard it officially. It's in good hands. Well, that's always something positive to know about.
Yes. And your question was, what do I bring to the table? I think my experience as controller has allowed me to see into every aspect of city government, so that if the people of this great city give me a chance to move across the street from where I am in the municipal building and go over to City Hall and be the next mayor of New York City, I know I will hit the ground running, because I've got the experience in city government. But I also have the experience from the private sector, which I thought was very important, because that kind of real-world fiscal expertise allows us to really get apply a better measure for what government should be doing. But I think most importantly, what I bring to the table is something different that none of the other candidates bring. And that is that while every one of my rivals has grown up their lives in politics and government and political offices, and even their families all came from politics.
A lot of them, yes.
Yes, my family had nothing to do with politics. We were immigrants. My mom and dad just kept working hard every single day. And as I mentioned before, my degree is in the hard sciences. I spent most of my career in the private sector. And, nothing wrong with politics or being from politics, but the fact that I have not grown up in politics, it gives me a very unique, different perspective.
Very objective look.
Yes, about what government should be doing, can be doing more of, and what government should not be doing. And I think that's the kind of common sense approach that I think I bring to the table more so than anybody else, just because I haven't grown up with this thinking certain things have to be this way or that way, that it's a given, but that in fact we can make a lot of changes, because I don't take anything for granted, and I don't accept anything or any status quo as something that has to continue.
Now, speaking of changes, what would you like to see change right now in terms of what's currently going on? We know what's the current situation, but is there anything in particular that you said this would have to be, if you could name maybe your top 5 things that you would say have to change immediately, what would they be?
Let's talk about the changes. So can we have another 2 hours?
Part 2 of the interview?
Part 2, all right. Well, let me try to get in as much as possible. Look, I think I am very clear about the changes that we need here in New York City. In fact, after 12 years of the Bloomberg administration, we need change. And I believe I am the candidate for change, because I'm very clear on the issues that I've taken on and the positions the positions I've taken and the issues I stand for. For example, I believe we need a far stronger economic development policy, one that creates jobs. We need to stop subsidizing big companies and actually use the money to make sure all of our after-school programs are open, job training sites are open. We need to invest the money not in big companies, but in the human capital that exists right here with the people of New York City. We have to get the city out of the hands of the billionaires and corporations and put it back into the hands of the people. So I would cut out all these corporate subsidies and put the money in the people. Another change I would make pretty soon is that I believe that in order to expand the middle class, we have to also uplift the working poor. And that means that we need a real minimum wage in New York City.
Yes.
That's right. And, you know, all of my rivals are fine, happy, dandy with a $9 minimum wage, which is better than the $7.25 minimum wage that we have now. But the $9 doesn't come from anything. It's kind of like an arbitrary number. There's no economic basis behind it. The research that I've done in my office has shown that in New York City, because of the high cost of living we have, the right number is $11.50 an hour. The minimum wage should be $11.50 an hour, because that's the amount of money it takes for someone working full-time, a full-time job at that wage, to be able to make enough to get out of the poverty line. And I feel that it doesn't make any sense for government to dictate a minimum wage at which someone working full-time can't even get out of poverty. So $11.50 is the right number.
But is it realistic?
Some people will say it's not realistic. I think it's very realistic, because you know what? We want to expand the middle class by also uplifting the working poor. And an increase to $9 or $11.50, they're both increases. There will be some change in the local economics in the short term. But in the long term, everything stabilizes and actually it serves to narrow this out of control wealth gap that we see, where the rich continue to do far better and everybody else gets left behind. We need to start reducing the wealth gap in order to have an economic recovery that's a sustainable economic recovery, and one that benefits everybody in the economic spectrum, not just the very wealthy.
That is great. I mean, I love that, and I would love to actually see that implemented. Now, let me ask you something. Do you read the papers? Do you read the papers about yourself?
It's hard to keep up with the papers. Nowadays, I get started very early in the morning. I'm talking with voters in the street, at subway stations, and I love it. I mean, part of this is being in office and also running for citywide office, running for mayor of New York City. I mean,
it's a big job.
Yes, and it gives me the opportunity to meet people from all over the city, every walk of life, every religious background, every race, every neighborhood, multiple languages spoken by people. And I pick up a few phrases here and there, but it's just been such a privilege to run for office. It has been, we are now five weeks away from the election, and I know that there are lots of challenges that still face my campaign, but I've taken a lot of body blows over the last couple of years in terms of, look, I know some people do not want me to be mayor, some pretty powerful forces out there, and it's because they don't like the changes that I spoke about. The two changes that I talked about. Another one that if we have time, I'd like to get into, which is stop and frisk. I'm the only candidate.
Well, we will get into that. We have to just take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to touch upon stop and frisk for sure.
Thank you.
Everyone, you're watching Beyond Focus TV with the Honorable Chun Liu. Welcome back. Of course, you are locked on to Beyond Focus TV. We've got Chun Liu with us here today. Getting into the final segment, we definitely need a part 2 with you because you got so much to say, so we're going to make that happen. But we're just about talking about stop and frisk, something that affects our community so much. A lot of our viewers, a lot of our listeners come from the Black, the Caribbean, Latino, Asian community,
Right.
who are more of the ones who are targeted. So why don't
Absolutely.
you share some insight on that?
Well, bottom line is stop and frisk has to go. It doesn't work. And I started saying to you that I'm the only candidate, Republican or Democrat, that believes that we need to end stop and frisk. And I plan to end stop and frisk. I'm not planning to adjust it or cut it back or bring it under control. I plan to end stop and frisk. And this is a unique position that I've taken, quite honestly, surprisingly, because I thought at least some of my Democratic rivals would also have the same kind of position I have. The reason I have this position is because I don't believe stop and frisk works. First of all, it is dividing communities apart from the police, makes it much more difficult for the police to do their job, and therefore makes everybody less safe. Number two, it's a misplacement of resources. I believe that we need to replace stop and frisk with community policing, such as focused deterrence, where the police work hand in hand with local pastors, imams, business owners, community activists, who generally have a sense where the problems in their neighborhood are. And the police should be focusing their resources on the problems as opposed to stop and frisk, which is the police spreading their resources far and wide and thin, stopping hundreds of thousands of people, and then finding out that almost none of them that they've stopped have done anything wrong. So I think that our resources should be much more effectively deployed. But beyond all of that, I just think it's wrong. I think it's wrong as an immigrant and many people in the immigrant community, when you read about hundreds or 700,000 people in one city being stopped and frisked by the police, almost all of whom have done nothing wrong. People think that, people think that they might be reading about some third world dictatorship or some of the countries that we actually immigrated from. They would never expect to think that they're reading about that in the United States of America, and certainly not here in New York City.
Absolutely. So that's one of the positive things that, if you do get elected, come the primaries, let's give everybody the date. September 10th is a very important date.
It is a very important date.
Talk about that.
Well, September 10th is rapidly approaching, and it's been a real privilege to run for mayor of New York City. As I started saying earlier in our conversation, I ran for city council. People gave me a lot of doubts. I wound up serving in the city council for 8 years. Mm-hmm. And 4 years ago, I announced that because I had a lot of experience in city government and I had a financial background professionally, I announced 4 years ago that I would run for city controller. And people immediately asked me, "Why are you running? You can't win." Something I heard before. And I asked, "Well, why not?" And people would say, "Well, controller is a very important position. It's a citywide position in a city of 8.4 million people. And maybe the people of this city aren't quite ready for someone like you." People said that to me a lot.
Heard that line.
I know, right? I know we identify with each other, Lydia. But I didn't pay them much mind. In fact, I went ahead. We put together a strong campaign. I was on the right side of the issues. And at the end of the day, in 2009, the election wasn't even that close. I almost beat the runoff with 4 candidates. I almost beat the runoff. So we had a very strong campaign and a very strong outcome. And so now it's 2013.
Yes.
And September 10th, the Democratic primary is just weeks away. And when I announced earlier this year that I was running for mayor, guess what I heard?
That you're crazy?
Why are you running? You can't win. It's deja vu all over
again.
And in fact, the last couple of years have been really rough. There's been this long-standing investigation into my campaign fundraising. Look, I've raised funds like every other candidate in this city. I don't know why they're only looking at my campaign fundraising so much more than everybody else's. But nonetheless, I'm very proud of the campaign we've run. And notwithstanding these investigations, 4 years in running, they have looked at anything and everything under the sun. They even wiretapped my phones for like 18 months.
Oh, wow.
And have not been able to use a single ounce of that. So at this point, I'm very proud to present myself to the people of New York City as the most thoroughly investigated candidate in the history of New York City.
At least we know we'll get somebody clean, right?
Well, you know what? That you will have me, and I also don't take pictures of myself. So
That's always a little bonus. That's always a bonus.
So we have a few weeks left, and I'm getting the word out, talking about my issues, the changes that we talked about, what we need to see here in New York City to restore the promise that if you come here and you work hard and you dream big and then you work a little harder, you can achieve great success. But a promise that I feel has been somewhat lost in recent years, and I want to restore that promise. I want to fix that promise so that generations more of people who come to New York or native-born New Yorkers can achieve great success, and that they're given a chance to succeed. We just want a level playing field for everybody, and we want the opportunity to do better for ourselves. Not a policy or system where it seems every day the rich and the powerful are doing far better, everybody else being left behind, the middle class disappearing, working men and women just really being dragged backwards. We want an economy and a city that works for everyone, and I do believe I'm the candidate of change. After this administration that's been in there for far too long, we do need a change, and I hope that the people of this great city will give me this shot.
Well, it's been such an amazing half-hour special. Before I let you go, John, where can we get some more information on you for those watching at home?
Go to my website, johnliu2013.com, JOHNLIU 2013.com. All sorts of information there. I hope people can sign up as a volunteer. If you want to send me a message, there's a button you can click on to send me a quick note, and we'll certainly get back to you as quickly as possible.
John, it's been a wonderful conversation. We would love to have you back right after the primaries, maybe get some more information on you.
Wonderful.
But it's the 2013 election. It is Beyond Focus TV. I'm your host, Lydia Patel. Hope you enjoyed the segment here with the Honorable John Liu. We'll see you next time. Enjoy your evening.